I want to talk Bryce Young.
Yeah.
It was the best he's looked.
Yes.
And his two best throws, I called them, one was a deep crosser and another little stop and go. Put them right on his receiver's hands. David Moore dropped one, and the other one, Xavier Legette, just has it taken away for an interception.
I honestly think that one was bad enough that I think you can make an argument that that's a fumble, not even an interception. It's in his hands. He's caught it by the time the defender just takes it away from him. That should go down as a completion for Bryce Young and a fumble for Xavier Legette.
I don't know how many yards were left on the table, but again, just to paint a picture, if you give him 60 more yards, right? Those would have been 30 plus. Give him 60 more yards. He's 8 in 2 completions on those two passes.
And take away his interception.
He's 18 of 26 for 230 and a touchdown and no interceptions. And it's a much cleaner outing. But even just throw for throw from Bryce Young, by far the best we've seen from him, including on the final drive, man. What was a struggle for Bryce Young was seeing the middle of the field and seeing things on time, generally. He was so decisive yesterday.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not saying he's a future Pro Bowler right now or a future All-Pro, but he was so decisive yesterday, hit the top of his drop and got rid of it. Even some simple checkdowns where he's canceling 2 and 3 deep routes and getting to the checkdown quickly was very impressive. But the most impressive throw for me is 3rd and 10 on the final drive, a dig route where he throws the ball so early, well before the break, the anticipation dig route.
Which was his college staple.
What he did. Now, I had to go back. I watched it on coach's film, and he throws it so early. I could not believe he saw that and threw it as early as he did. It looks like a completely different quarterback the way he did that. And then I went back to watch the broadcast version, and I didn't realize, because you can't see it from the coach's film, but on the broadcast version, it was like a late career Peyton Manning little wobbler. It was very wobbly. It wasn't like a zip in there, but the anticipation made it happen. And there was also a pass interference that helped set up the game-winning touchdown. But it was outstanding, this throw. And other throws by Bryce Young. It was by far his best outing.
Yeah.
And the feel, the comfort, the confidence, night and day from what we saw earlier this year from Bryce Young.
Correct. I also want to give some credit to Dave Canales. Remember, we were coming into the season, there was quite a lot of optimism about Carolina because, look, last year, dumpster fire. But people got fired off the back of that, and then this offseason they fixed every area that you could fix around the quarterback. Theoretically, they improved the receiving core, they improved the offensive line, they improved the coaching by bringing in a guy in Canales who just had recent success with Baker Mayfield and Geno Smith and resuscitating the careers of quarterbacks. We saw none of that in the first couple of weeks. It looked terrible. It looked worse than it did last year. It's like, well, none of this worked. Then they benched Bryce Young. Dalton comes in. It looks immediately better. And suddenly, actually, the offensive line is really good. The receiving core may be better. And let's put a pin in the coaching thing. This, though, we saw a game plan in this game that indicated that Canales had actually seen Bryce Young play, right? Which you hadn't seen in the first couple of weeks. There was no real indication that I have watched this guy play. I understand the way he's trying to play the game, and I have crafted a system to help him along with that. One of the things that Bryce Young has been doing for a while as a starter now is just panicking and abandoning pockets, right? Like trying to get the hell out from even when pressure isn't there, just trying to get out from that like contained pocket environment, whatever the reason. So in this game, you saw a ton of plays where they deliberately moved the pocket on him. They like specifically got him away from the inside of that trapped environment and like swung the whole pocket to the right? Or, use play action that would sort of the entire offensive line swings in one direction. A guy comes across just to pick up that backside defensive end. But the point is, what has previously been like a giant wall in front of Bryce Young in a complete semicircle that he can't see over. Now suddenly you've shifted most of that wall to one side, and there's only one guy over here that needs to see past. It just felt like this was actually, now they've got him on the move by design, right? Yeah. And he's not panicking, running for his life, trying to make an ad-lib play and figure out something on the fly. It's like, no, this is the way it's supposed to work. You're supposed to be moving in this direction. That's where you're making the read as part of the design play, and the whole thing was working better in partnership, right? That was encouraging because, number one, Bryce Young evidently was a lot more comfortable in that scenario. Number two, it indicates that the coach has a better understanding of what the deal is with this guy, and we might be able to go somewhere going forward. Now, as we said yesterday on the Instant Reaction show, we have to at least throw out the caveat that the Saints defense has become the Panthers defense with everybody banged up and injured, and the fact that they're 7 straight losses and they're spiraling out of control, and they might now belong in the caveat world of, yeah, but it was against the Saints.
Yeah, so that part I agree with. The Saints have been awful in recent weeks. I agree with how you're saying they called the game in favor of Bryce Young. But it's not like he put up this incredible stat. Like, we're not saying, oh, he just threw for 303 touchdowns, therefore he's arrived.
Right.
We're watching the film and saying this looks nothing like he looked last year or earlier this year. Even just and I'm talking little plays. The fact a 2-yard check down to me was like, wow, thumbs up, step in the right direction because you were decisive. Hitting the top of his drop and hitting a seam route on 3rd and 4, decisive. Hit his touchdown, top of the drop, little short post in the red zone, decisive. A 9-yard run on 2nd and 8 from Bryce Young, where he scrambles out, jukes a guy at the last second, picks up the first down. I'm not saying those things didn't exist last year in isolation, but they didn't exist in like a 1-game setting where you saw the confidence, you saw the pocket movement. He was only sacked 1 time, right? And he didn't have much of a chance there. And again, he wasn't perfect, right? He had a decisive turnover-worthy play too, where he didn't see the undercutting corner, and he probably should have thrown a pick. Missed a wide receiver screen, running back screen by a mile. He wasn't perfect. Decisiveness, confidence, and general anticipation, athleticism from Bryce Young all showed up in the same football game. It's a massive step forward for him in his development.
And there were genuinely plays in that tape yesterday that I haven't seen since Alabama. Like the type of, because it's not like everybody was like people knew he was tiny. It's not like that was a surprise. Oh, they've measured him. It turns out he's incredibly small and this isn't going to work anymore. Like everyone knew he was really, really small in Alabama, but it didn't matter because his anticipation was better. Like the throws you've been talking about earlier, right? Tua's the sort of typical Tua play, right? Throwing it to a spot on a dig route over the middle, and then look, Tyreek Hill shows up right when the ball arrives, right? Bryce Young was better at that at Alabama in the same offense than Tua was. He was better at it than Mac Jones was. He was the best of those quarterbacks at that anticipation, timing throw over the middle where typically short quarterbacks do not do well in.
Guys who are known for that.
That's why a ton of people in the same draft as C.J. Stroud and all these other quarterbacks were like, Bryce Young is the best guy because of this. It doesn't matter that he's really small because this anticipation stuff is elite high-level processing ability. And then that just disappeared the second he hit the NFL, right? Like everything overwhelmed him. He was drowning. None of it worked. It all went. It hasn't been on his tape so far. This was the first game, I think, where that was back in his tape, at least on a repeatable basis. And that, even if it's against the Saints defense, is a very notable development, whether it's for Carolina, whether it's for the team they're going to trade him to. It's at least the first sign in a long time that he might actually work as an NFL quarterback.
Yeah, we said a lot to say, step in the right direction there for Bryce Young.
Yeah. Thanks for watching all the way to the end of our video.
For more great content, click here to subscribe and here to watch another video. We'll see you again soon.